So let's go over creating some boons. Usually I want to go to the pelvis, so I don't want any distraction with the outer leg nor the inner leg, so I can just hide them. You want to get something from here to here, 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 maybe the neck, then the head. I right click to remove the sticking one. Alright, so I'll delete this. So I created a simple body rig here, and I want to add the hand for now. So if I click on any bone and I created a hierarchy here, let's preview pose. If I remove this, this is not actually the child, but this is child of this. So this bone will be following this bone because we pressed on this bone, then created a bone, right? This is important because the hierarchy, uh, click on edit bone to delete bones. The hierarchy is really important to understand. So let's create a bone. Usually the hand is following the chest. Let's create the bone here, and the bone position is also important because this is the axis where the hand will be moving around. If you made it this way, the hand will be moving on this axis, which is not really right, but let's try this. Just get a sense of how it will look. Don't worry about all the steps I did. I will be explaining it later. So here you can see the orientation is totally lost. It's not how I want to look at all. So I can edit bone. Usually I want it something like here. Here is alright. Here is alright. I think something like that. If I try to rotate now it's much better, right? So of course not perfect. We'll be modifying it together, but you get the point, right? So let's create the inner leg here, the inner arm, I mean, and actually let's edit the bone here. Alright, we'll be fixing the rest later with paint weights. Alright, so before going on, I can see there is an issue with the white part here and white part here. So this is actually a problem from the character itself, not from Unity. So if we went here, you should be able to see here the white part and another white part here. So another good thing before exporting the character is to have like a background here. Try once with the white. Try once with the white. You didn't see anything weird. Try with the black. And now you can see it's crystal clear how this problems there. So but what if you did we actually didn't make a lot of work, but what if you did a lot of work, or if you don't want to lose this actually you can actually get over that. So just click apply. I'll be opening show and export, see the same file. This is actually the same file we're using, so let's modify that. So let's actually delete this layer. Let's start with modifying this. So whenever you want to modify a new your file, but you don't want to lose your bones and data and everything, save to new file. I'll say fix6 marker fix6 or make it 6 fixing white ports. So I saved it to new file to have my old file, because I'll be taking some data from it to retrieve it for new file. All right, I'll be explaining more in a second, but let me fix that real quick. And I can see here there's slight issue here, so let's get the pelvis of it. Right, perfect. I think this seems alright. Let's save that. And now, when you go to, am I recording? Yeah. So if I went here to sprite editor, scanning editor, you'll find we don't have any bones or anything. So what should we do to retrieve the data from here? So let's check the old character. So the old characters still have the bones. So I want to get this bones data to transfer it over here. So this is relatively simple. You have the metadata for both files, which hold the bones and geometry and weights, everything from here. So let's get the 5 edit here and edit with the 6. So let's Control A, Control C, copy, and Control A, Control V, paste. So get we got all the metadata from here, transfer it here, save it. Right, let's get back here. Don't worry about this file because this is automatically made with the Node++. So this is not unit related, so I'll be just deleting it. So this is our file. So let's go skin editor, and there we go. You have all the work that you have done so far without losing anything. That's how I was talking about how to get from Unity to Photoshop, and you can modify. So can as you can see, this is really cool, as you can modify anything whenever you want, even if you messed something up you didn't notice. So this usually you'll go over all these steps again, so you don't worry about it again. So let's continue on. So I want to hide the torso for now. Let's create bone. I want to be child of this one. So one, let's talk about something here. So maybe if you create a bone here and you didn't actually make the this one a child of this one, you forgot, maybe made a complex bone structure, something like that. And now when you pause, you try to move, but this is not following. And click here to parent this. So let's hide the pelvis, get back here, hide the pelvis, and let's create bone. Make sure to make this parent. Make sure when you do the limbs, the legs and hands, to have slight bend from the knees, like don't go straight over, try to make a slight bend, because this will help us with the IK afterward. So here something like that is perfect. And I want to get the back leg, so I mean the outer leg here. Let's clear the pelvis. So here, let's make this as a parent. Click here, also with the bend, here, 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 perfect. Alright, so I have pretty much the character set up here, and I want the to add the gun. So the gun will be following. Let's think about it for a second. So I think we'll be following this hand, the inner hand. Yeah, pretty much. So if the character is waving here, so yeah, let's make it this hand will be holding here, and this hand will be making the trigger. So let's go with that. So let's check the hand, and here the gun. Try to make it like centralized here because we may want to scale it in Unity, so this will be much easier. When I say Unity, I mean the hierarchy when we set the character. And we may also want to move this thing around, but this will become an issue. I'll be discussing it later, but let's imagine that everything is alright. So, alright, we did every debone setup, so no problem. Let's now try to make the auto geometry. So let's auto geometry for generate for all visuals. So let's preview and try to see, and I expect it not to work correctly. So let's see. So yeah, here's the much influence here. So this should be less influence. The cap shouldn't be influencing the hand shouldn't be influencing the cap at all. The hand, alright, it needs some paint weight, but it's not horrible. This is not bad. The legs, you see, the outer leg is got influence from the inner leg. The inner leg is influencing the outer leg, so it's horrible here. About here, not bad. The inner hand actually influencing the body, which is not cool. The hand, the head here, and you see, let's actually set the position, and let's try that. See, this is what I was talking about this. Actually, you can fix that with paint weight, but it will become a real pain, so you don't want to do that. So let's actually reset the pose, and let's fix that up. I want to fix the layer. Whenever you see a problem with the Photoshop layer or the actual image, you try to fix it before fixing everything else, especially making the anything automatic, I mean manual. When you do manual weights, manual geometry, you usually want that for the polishment at the very last step. One other thing I want to discuss here. So if you check here, you can see this will become really tedious to make it with paint weights and won't work as you expected. So this also I wanted to discuss this. Usually you want to make this is separated, like pretty much we want to make this effect, remove this effect from here, and make this effect goes from here, as this will be detaching it. So make it loose, we can move it everywhere without affecting the gun. So let's apply that. Let's get back to Photoshop. So the head is actually fixes pretty easy, so you can get behind the torso and merge, and make sure you when you have the names, like Unity understands the layers with that name. So if you made this one over and merge it, you will have the head, so you will have the geometry of the head. So if you want this geometry, you will have, but if you made the torso, you will have the geometry of the torso, so you will have this geometry, which is we want, plus the head. So we'll have the torso, and we can the head add the head afterward. If you do not understand that, don't worry, we'll be going over over it. So let's remove the head here. So now we have the torso with the head and the other issue I was talking about. So let's separate that, separate this part, the trigger, which is that. Let's go over it real quick. So let's make the simulation as we discussed. Whenever you do something, I have a slight issue here, but I can fix it right away like that. But if we have, let's make actually a simulation here, right? So if I have that here, if I move that, you can see this is what you will get with Unity, which is not cool at all. So first thing, this should be here, right? So let's try again. So you can see here the problem is the movement actually is ok. So yeah, is right. So it's moving without affecting the gun, which is we want. But here you can see it's like a detachable part, so we can easily fix that as well. I'll be doing it over very fast and not the best solution, not the best drawing, but to get the just to get the idea, and you can polish it afterwards. So I just want it something like that. So this is pretty much how I want it. And I want the color, so I got the shape alright, how I want it. Let's get the color here. This one, um, this one. Let's actually get this one this dark, and this one will be the same as this, but much darker, something like that. I think this looks great, so I can see make something up, something like that is alright. It's not the best thing, but it's alright. So let's make small adjustment here, make it a bit round. So again, this is not the best thing to do, but it won't actually making it, you can't, it won't be horrible because it's just a really tiny detail here. So if you can see here from afar, even not from very far above, if you can see this, I should be merging these layers. So let's try again. So here, alright, so here you can see the trigger now looks a lot better because this part is not detaching again. So here you can see again, just a quick fix to let you see how it's done. I made another version with cleaner fix, but this is how to show you, just to show you how you can easily fix the layers without messing up with Unity. Of course, you have the your artist, so you can fix that easily. So let's make that the trigger. Alright, so what we did here, we added a new layer here, and we removed the head layer and we merged layers. So let's save. Let's add 7, fixing head and trigger. So let's remove that. Where's this is our sprite editor, new one. You can see here we have still nothing transferred, but if we go to sprite editor, you can see Unity understand and made the trigger for the new layer, made the torso and head for one part. But let's actually get back to get our last. You can see. Do you want to reload it? Yes, let's reload that. So this is the very first one. So open it. I already have it here. I'll have the new one here. Let's Control A, Control C, Control V here. Save that. Let's head back to Unity. Right, remove the backup. So here, if you see here, uh, everything works alright, but here the torso is not actually made right because remember we did take the information from the last one, which is here, which this was only the torso. So the new one doesn't automatically fix that. So if you want here, you can see everything is alright, but the torso is not really updated, so you can go sprite editor. This one you should be adding it manually, so you can add this a bit here without no worries. So you can go skin editor, apply. So alright, we have the head, but remember when I said you will have the geometry of the torso, but we will we want to add the head as well. This is what we'll be facing it right here. So we can either edit geometry, and when you click here, you can see extending the geometry will extend the head as well. But as we didn't make anything manual, so we can just auto geometry generate there in easy fix. That's why I said don't make any manual auto geometry, any manual geometry or any manual paint weight, because this auto geometry will be overriding that. So usually you want to make the polishment at the very last step. So let's try actually. So you can see here when I move the neck, the problem pretty much solved. So I don't this is doesn't work because there is not really enough paint weights, but we'll be discussing it later. But I think this is pretty good, but we will need some paint weight fixes. So let's actually check our gun here. So suppose, and if you try to move that, this is influencing the gun but not the trigger. So what if I want to remove the influence for these two bones, as I don't want the gun to be controlled by? You go to bone influence, you remove this bone and this bone, which is 24 and 25, which we should be, before this step we should be renaming all these bones, but let me show you something real quick. And here we can auto geometry generate for selected, and here we have only this, so we can see preview, and now works perfectly. Right, so let's reset the bones. So now you did make the bones. You After you made the bones work alright, you check the hierarchy, only the hierarchy, don't worry about the deformation for now, and everything you're satisfied with. Let's make the most tedious part here. We should be naming all the bones here to a convenient bone naming. I did it on another project, so I'll be telling you how to make it. Then I'll be opening the other project because it's really tedious task. So here you can see root, stomach, chest, outer arm. Let's make this outer shoulder, outer. Oh, you get the point here. So you keep renaming all these bones to the respected bone name, and After making that, you'll make your life much easier in Unity, either for animator or for yourself for checking the bone weights. As I see here, I want to check the bone weights. So what I will be doing here, go over, double click on any sprite editor here, or you can go sprites and click and choose your sprite here. So I will be choosing the outer arm, go to bone influence. This sprite get controlled by which bone? But as I see here, this chest is controlling the bone, which is not I want. I don't want the bone to be controlled by the chest at all. And this is you can't really see any difference because it was really small influence. But you can see here this the torso is got controlled by the inner arm. So let's just rename this arm inner shoulder, inner arm, right? So if you go here to the torso bone influence, you can see it, inner shoulder is there. I can remove the inner shoulder and outer shoulder. So this pretty much I think is alright. So let's preview pose. If you now move that, you can see it's no longer affecting the torso, which is what I want. But if you want to make a really small influence, that what we will be doing, we'll be adding small weights here and there to make it more organic looking, but not now. So this step you'll try to your best to make everyone move on its own. So this is completely moving on its own. So even this, try to make it here, and even if this happens, we have two salvation for this. So either you go to back to Photoshop and combine both of these, but in this case you don't really want to do that. We'll be fixing it with paint weights. This is fairly simple, as we'll be making this head, this hand got controlled by this, and this got influenced by this bone. As when you're moving the hand, the sleeves should be moving as well to make a more organic look. And here's the leg. Usually you just want to remove the inner leg. So if you go to bone influence, so without renaming, because as I told you, I renamed it on another project, I'll be going over it. But let's now stick what we have here. But you should rename your bones. And here's another shout out for the 2D animation package developers. I have like, if you have this sprite, like the outer arm, and the bone influence is the outer shoulder and outer arm. So making these bones be renamed after the most influenced layer would be pretty help us. Like if this got renamed as outer arm, because this is got influenced by the outer arm, and this also got influenced by the outer arm because both of layers. So outer arm 1, outer arm 2 is alright. And if I, for example, if I have this character doesn't have any hair, but if he has any hair at all, and I have a lot of wounds here, I should be able to just rename every one at one. But if I try to rename everything but one click, there is nothing here. So there should be, like, if I call hair one, it will, or hair for a bunch of bunch of wounds in the same hierarchy, should be renaming all accordingly. So enough about that. Let's here click on, you can either select it from here or double click on the layer itself, right? So go to bone influence, and you can see the one with highlighted with the color will be the one you can see its influence. So even if I don't know its name, I can click on it and remove it from here. So I can see here works alright. So I can switch to this one and get here and remove that. So let's reset pose, preview pose, double click here. So if you can see now everything move alright. If you don't want to see the bones, you can I don't think no. If you want to move the bones but still don't see it much, can hold it back like this. So this is the best you can get, right? I think this looks cool. So the influence here is alright, here is alright, here is alright, here is alright. So everything seems working alright with the bone influence. The very next step is to make the both the not the very last step here in the skin editor is to actually edit the geometry, as the geometry isn't the best when it comes to automatic, especially for the joint here, the knee and the elbow. Will be discussing it further after. But by and large, we'll be modifying the geometry, then modify the paint weights, and you will be seeing how everything will be got updated. So let's check the problem so far. So we have here we feel like the shoulder is detached. We should be able to make it more organic. The hand is actually pretty good, but I see the influence here is a bit harsh. Here you can see it detaching, and this sleeve doesn't move at all. The outer arm looks a bit weird when it's moving, but doesn't affect the pelvis at all. It does affect it, but I think it needs more influence. Here the back leg, it's having much influence for the pelvis, which shouldn't. Here the pelvis actually moves everything. Here when you move that, this should be moving accordingly with that to have a bit influence, like uh, something like that. When you go that and when you go here, it should be adding something like that. Alright, so this should be having more influence to the pelvis. This looks alright, but alright from behind a bit. But from the knee, I think it needs a bit modification. Here, I think looks cool. Alright, and here actually the formation is pretty good here. Here a bit harsh, here needs a fix. Here is good. The same as the other hand, but the deformation overall is kinda not bad at all, except for the butt and some parts of the head, like this one shouldn't be moving uh, too much. Like this should be only influencing the neck without the head, the back, the back, yeah, his back. And maybe we'll be adding this head to move all the head. I'm not sure I'll be doing that because usually you don't want to have usually this type of human doesn't do that, but let's see, we can see how we'll go over. So this is overall how we did. We discussed so far the setting up the character, layering, discovering skin editor, importing character to Unity, and we made the retargeting and editing. Like we can edit something on Unity and open it in Photoshop, modify it, and we get back to Unity with the same modification. And we connect sprite with the bone influence. We did that. Modifying the geometry and manual weights is the next thing to do.